More than 2,000 years ago, on the banks of the River Tiber, a small settlement began to grow. It was built by farmers, shepherds, and warriors who dreamed of something greater, a city that would stand the test of time. That city was Rome. In its earliest days, it was nothing more than a collection of wooden huts surrounded by open fields. Yet the people who lived there believed they were destined for greatness. Their courage, discipline, and unity became the foundation of what would one day become the mightiest empire the world had ever seen. As the years passed, Rome learned a powerful lesson. Survival meant strength. Its legions became legendary, disciplined, fearless, and unstoppable. With red banners flying and steel glinting under the sun, the Roman armies marched across continents. They conquered kingdoms, spread their laws, and absorbed cultures into their growing dominion. Villages turned into cities and cities into provinces. The world began to whisper the name Rome with awe and fear. The empire stretched across Europe, North Africa, and parts of Asia. Wherever Roman boots stepped, civilization followed. Roads, aqueducts, theaters, and order. Among the countless heroes of Rome, one name shone brighter than all others: Julius Caesar. Brilliant in battle and cunning in politics, Caesar led his armies to victory after victory. The people adored him, but the Senate feared his power. His rise was unstoppable, until envy took root. On a cold morning in March, Caesar entered the Senate house, unaware that betrayal awaited him. Surrounded by men he once called friends, he was stabbed 23 times. As he fell to the marble floor, he uttered the words that echoed through history: "Et tu, brute." His death marked the end of the Roman Republic, and the beginning of something far greater. In the chaos that followed Caesar's assassination, a new leader emerged, his adopted son Octavian, later known as Augustus. Through strategy, patience, and war, Augustus restored order and claimed the title of Rome's first emperor. Under his rule, Rome entered its Golden Age, the Pax Romana, a period of peace and prosperity that lasted for more than 200 years. Massive monuments rose from the earth. Roads connected distant lands. The Colosseum, an arena that could hold thousands, stood as a symbol of Rome's might and majesty. The empire reached its height, stretching farther than any before it. For centuries, Rome was the heart of the world. Its streets were filled with merchants selling spices and silk, philosophers debating life and justice, and artists crafting statues that would endure for millennia. Gladiators fought for glory before roaring crowds, and poets wrote verses that would never be forgotten. The empire's wealth seemed endless. Its cities glowed with marble, gold, and firelight. People believed that Rome would last forever, but nothing lasts forever. Beneath the beauty and power, cracks began to form. Wealth brought comfort, and comfort brought weakness. The discipline that once defined Rome began to fade. Leaders grew corrupt and greedy, caring more for luxury than for the people. The Senate became divided, the army lost its loyalty, and the spirit of unity that had built the empire began to crumble. Inside the grand palaces, feasts replaced meetings and pride replaced purpose. The mighty heart of Rome, had once beating strong and proud, and started to slow. While Rome weakened from within, danger gathered from the outside. The Visigoths, Vandals, and Huns, fierce tribes from the north and east, watched and waited. When the time came, they struck with fury. In 410 AD, the unthinkable happened. Rome, the eternal city, was invaded. Flames engulfed its temples. Marble statues shattered, and terrified citizens fled for their lives. The empire that had ruled the known world for centuries began to fall apart. By 476 AD, the Western Roman Empire had collapsed completely. The eagle that once soared over the world had fallen to the ground. Yet even in ruin, Rome's story did not end. Its ideas, law, architecture, language, and governance lived on. The Roman roads became the foundations of modern Europe. Roman law shaped justice systems across the world. The beauty of its art and the wisdom of its thinkers inspired generations to come. Though the empire itself vanished, its spirit survived in every corner of civilization. Rome rose through courage, ruled through power, and fell through pride. But from its ashes, the modern world was born. When Rome fell, the world fell silent. The great marble cities turned into ruins, roads cracked, and statues were buried beneath the dust of time. For centuries, people wandered through the remains of a world that once ruled everything. Trade slowed, knowledge faded, and darkness spread across Europe. It was a time historians would later call the Dark Ages, an age where empires were gone and kingdoms were born from their ashes. The world that had once looked to Rome for order was now divided among warlords and tribes fighting to survive. In this darkness, one light refused to fade, the light of faith. As armies clashed and cities crumbled, the teachings of Christianity spread quietly through the lands. From humble villages to powerful courts, people began to believe in a new kind of kingdom, not built by swords or stone, but by hope and forgiveness. Monks and priests became the new keepers of knowledge. In cold stone monasteries, they copied books by candlelight, preserving the wisdom of the ancient world. While Rome's armies had conquered with might, the church began to conquer with words and faith. But the world was still restless. Kings rose and fell. Castles were built atop hills, their flags flying in the wind. Knights in shining armor fought for honor, land, and faith. Across Europe, new powers began to form. The Franks under Charlemagne, the Byzantines in the east, and the Islamic caliphates rising across deserts and seas. Each carried fragments of the old world, reshaping them into something new. Charlemagne, the father of Europe, dreamed of uniting the continent once more. Under his rule, education, art, and architecture returned, small sparks of light in a darkened world. Far to the east, the Byzantine Empire, the last breath of Rome, still stood tall in its capital, Constantinople. Golden domes and marble palaces reflected sunlight across the Bosporus. There, Greek scholars, Roman laws, and Christian faith blended into a civilization of unmatched beauty. For centuries, Constantinople stood as a bridge between the old and new worlds, preserving the wisdom of Rome even as the rest of Europe struggled to rebuild. Yet change was coming. The Crusades began. Holy wars fought between the Christian and Muslim worlds. Knights marched across continents, banners high, believing they were fighting for God. Blood was spilled, cities burned, but knowledge flowed once again between East and West. From Arabic scholars came mathematics, astronomy, and medicine, treasures that reignited Europe's thirst for learning. Slowly, the darkness began to fade. As time passed, trade routes reopened and merchants sailed across seas once more. Great cities like Venice, Florence, and Paris began to thrive. Cathedrals rose to the sky, music filled the air, and ideas started to move faster than ever before. This new light, born from the ruins of Rome, would soon be called the Renaissance, the rebirth of civilization. In this rebirth, humanity rediscovered the power of art, science, and philosophy. Thinkers like Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, and Galileo looked to the stars and questioned everything. They studied the ruins of Rome and the words of ancient philosophers, realizing that the past still held the key to the future. The world had come full circle. From the fall of one empire had risen 1,000 dreams, stronger, freer, and more curious than before. Though Rome was gone, its heartbeat echoed in every stone church, every book, and every law. It had transformed, not ended. What began beside the River Tiber had shaped the very soul of humanity. The empire that once ruled the earth had, in truth, never really died. It had only changed form, living on through the people, ideas, and faith that carried its torch into the new age.